Hi everybody, Josh with Talk About Trek, and I am back again into the TNG novels. Just finished up last night, shortly after midnight, TNG number 23, War Drums, the new novel by John Vornholt. Well, not new anymore, of course. This novel was published in 1992, and let's just jump right into the back cover here and read that together for the first time. The planet Selva, a lush colony world settled by a hardy group of humans who found the planet already inhabited by a small gang of young Klingons. When violence erupts between the two groups, Captain Picard and the USS Enterprise are sent to render assistance. Worf leads a landing party to the planet, while the Starship Enterprise is called away on another urgent mission. On Selva, Worf and his party find that the old hatreds and prejudices between humans and Klingons are revived, and the settlers are out for blood. Ooh. Now, Worf must prevent a horrible massacre before all of them fall prey to Selva's deadly secret and raging fury. So yeah, actually not a bad back cover summary, I would say. It doesn't spoil too much of the story, but kind of gives you a little bit of what's going on. But yeah, this is a I would say mainly a Worf, little bit of Ro Laren story here. But as the back cover says, the Federation has been called in to assist. This colony has small colony has landed on this planet, and they've been there for a little bit, and have discovered that it is not uninhabited. And in fact, there is a small gang of young Klingons, feral Klingons, kind of, that have been living there and have been attacking the colony. So that's why the Enterprise has been called in to assist and deal with this. So they do a little bit of research beforehand and find out that there was a Klingon colony that was here years ago, and due to like a Romulan attack, they had to leave, and one of the ships was unaccounted for. So they figure that the survivors of that ship must be these children. So they go to kind of repatriate them, get them back into society. The settlers there, however, are very, very much wanting just to wipe them out. So they're not looking for the peaceful solution, and they kind of figured that the Federation was just coming in to bring some bigger guns and help them take these Klingons out. And they have lost, several members of their colony during this time too. So it's been a hard situation for them. They're basically now trapped inside of their compound. They can't go out into the woods. If they do, they're constantly harassed and attacked. And to go along with that, this gang of Klingons is kind of always beating these drums, kind of driving them crazy, constantly beating these drum beats everywhere. So it's been a tough situation for them. They have managed to capture one of the young Klingons, and they have him kind of caught or bound up in like a shed, like an animal, basically, which the Picard and the crew of the Enterprise, of course, is not very happy with. So they do get him out of there. They they kind of talk to him first, and they see his conditions, and then they're trying to make peace with the colonists too, so they don't immediately take him, but they just go back up to their ship, and then they beam him back up, and through him they're able to kind of establish a connection. So Worf and this young Klingon Turok, he establishes a connection with him on the ship, and then is able to use him to help find the rest of the tribe. And that's kind of where the story goes. So you have the away mission of Worf, Data, and Counselor Troy, and it's their job to kind of find this group of Klingons and find a way to peacefully get them into society, which of course, like I said, is not what the colony is wanting to do at all. So they go off on their mission to try to find this group of Klingons, and then you have the Ro Laren side of it, and she has been sent to monitor the seismic activity on the planet. They feel that there is definitely something going on there. The colonists are not as concerned, but she has got like this kind of sinking bad feeling, and just with everything that she's seen, something is up. So her part of this mission is to monitor that seismic activity. The other characters here on the planet Selva. So the president of the colony is President Ascaris, and he starts out as a very kind of, I guess you wouldn't say racist, speciesist. He wants to kill the Klingons. He doesn't want to attempt any peace. There are some other characters in the colony that are not quite as I guess hateful as they are, and they are kind of the good characters that befriend Ro, and that is going to be Greg, who's like the director of security there, and he has a young daughter named Myra, who's very smart and actually kind of helps a lot of the plot along by noticing some little things, and then of course because she's a child, she's ignored by the adults, but Ro does listen to her. There's also a kind of suspicious Dr. Drayton, who's the colonist, like lead scientist there, and immediately I think Ro is kind of suspicious of her for some reason. So you have the two different kind of missions going on. Worf goes off into the woods to find the rest of the Klingon kids, and they do manage to meet up with them, and they're able to speak with the leader of this group, and his name is Balak. And at first they don't really catch on because they were basically crash landed on this planet when they were children, and they've been living in the woods for years. So while they do have the ability to remember their Klingon language, it takes a while for it to come back. But they are able to establish contact with them and kind of work their way into their good favor through food and gifts and things like that. So over time, they're able to actually be invited like into their little den underground and almost become like a part of this Klingon tribe with them. Now, excuse me, the Enterprise, now they've had this kind of convenient crutch this whole time where if anything were to go wrong while they're on their mission, and it comes up a couple of times, they can just call up the Enterprise and say, beam me up, and then we're going to beam back down and, get out of and move out of dangerous situations. Now here about halfway into the book, the Enterprise is suddenly called away on a very, very important mission. So they have to leave, and now the away team is there by themselves. No more crutch, no more calling for help. And that's when things start going really bad. So basically, as soon as the Enterprise is out of orbit, President Ascaris he sets his plan in motion to wipe out the Klingon menace. And he starts having his replicators manufacture phaser rifles, and you can tell that he is serious and is not looking for like the peaceful solution. And there's like this overall like looming feeling, and like the characters keep kind of mentioning it. Something is wrong, something is going to happen. So while Worf and them are out with the other Klingons, Ro is back in the colony with speaking with Myra and Greg, and it's at this point when Myra tells her that she believes that about 90 years ago or so there was a big cataclysmic event here. And that's why this planet has certain features. One of the things was all the trees were the exact same height. But like I said before, no one wants to listen to her because she's a kid. So Ro takes her seriously and kind of pays a little bit closer attention to the seismic situation that's going on. And as it gets to the end, it really, really picks up and is just a very interesting book. Just really good. So how it climaxes is very interesting. So you have Worf, who has convinced the Klingons through many different tests and many different things, and I've left out a lot of detail. So trust me, you definitely want to read this and fill in the blanks that I am leaving blank here. But through a lot of different ways, Worf wins their trust. He wins over their trust, and he's able to convince them that they can live on this planet in peace with these colonists. So he agrees to basically march them back into the colony, peacefully. But the colonists, President Ascaris is not having any of that. So as soon as Worf marches all these people back into the colony, the president opens fire on them. But, and this was something that I kind of found interesting about this book. So he's got what he wants. He's got this whole gang of Klingons that's been harassing and killing his group for, months at a time. And he has them pinned down. He has phaser rifles at the ready. And throughout this book, they always talk about their phasers were always set to kill. Every time they would get one of their phasers or look at one of their phasers, the colonists always had them set to kill, when of course any crew of the Enterprise always has it set to stun. Here in this part, and it's I guess it's maybe just showing that the colonists do have some good, is they don't just immediately kill everyone there. So they do stun and tie up all the Klingons. They also stun and tie up Ro and Counselor, not Ro, she's not there. Worf and Counselor Troy as well. Data manages to jump over the wall and escape into the woods with a couple of phaser rifles. But everybody is captured. So now Ro, who's working with Myra and Greg, has managed to find the secret way out of the colony, because there is a secret way out, and there's kind of another character and secret situation going on here, which I will totally leave out so someone can be surprised. But so now Ro, who is outside, meets up with Data. They sneak back in through the secret way, rescue Data, and not Data, Worf, Troy, and all the Klingon kids and all that. They rescue all of them, get them out of there through the same secret way. But it's at this point when kind of everything hits the fan. So the seismic activity that Ro has been monitoring finally goes off. And it is what Myra had said, and what basically Ro had feared, and the thing that had kind of been looming in the back of everyone's head, immediate disaster. So this seismic event has happened offshore, and it has created a giant tsunami, something like 400 miles per hour, and like 40 meters tall. So they are on a completely flat piece of land. The only high ground anywhere around is this ceremonial mound that the Klingons have built. So that is where they head to. And at this point, they're kind of all working together, because it's all or nothing. So they're all working together. They get to the mound. They realize it's not going to be high enough. I mean, a 400 wall of water is about to hit them. What are they going to do? It's at this point when the Klingons reveal that the mound is not actually just a mound, but is their ship covered in dirt. So they uncover some of the dirt. They find the hatch. They cram themselves all into this Klingon ship, all 200 colonists and 20-some Klingons and the 4 crew of the Enterprise, and get the hatch closed at the very last minute before the tsunami hits. Very exciting ending. Very exciting. The Enterprise, of course, like I said, they were called away, so they couldn't do anything. They do know that there's trouble, so they head back as quickly as they can, but they're not going to make it in time. But thankfully, the ship holds, and when they do get there, they're able to beam up the colonists, the Klingon, and the crew, and everybody is safe. Oh, excuse me. So, this book was very exciting. I was going to put it down last night, and I was about maybe right there. Maybe about right there, about chapter 14. And then I said, no, you're just going to read on through the end. I ended up staying up till a little bit after midnight to finish it, because it really does just take you for a very exciting ride. I guess what I like about it, too, is that it focuses on a core story. You don't really have too many different elements. So you've got this one away mission, which makes it really easy to kind of play out in your mind as an episode of Star Trek, which is why I love reading these books, because it's just more Star Trek stories. And I can just see it in my head just as good as if it's an episode that I watched on TV. And War Drums would make for a very excellent 2-part episode, I would say. What else about this book was very exciting? I'm going to consult my notes here, because I'm sure that I've left out a lot of stuff. Again, if you are a Worf fan, this is good for you. This is a main Worf book. It's got a lot of him trying to teach the young Klingons about their heritage, and being able to do that in some interesting ways as well, being a Klingon raised by humans himself. So I liked that they made it so at the end, even though this President Ascaris at first, even just throughout the whole story, he was bad. He was bad, and you didn't like him. And then at the end, when everything hits the fan, and they're all together trying to save their butts, he kind of redeems himself somewhat. So, and I guess you can understand the situation that they've been under for all this time, but he definitely took it too far, but then kind of redeemed himself at the end. So, really, really cool book. The character, this Myra, the young girl, and a lot of people, they always hate the young smart kid in a book or in a show or whatever, but I thought that she was really well done, and I liked her, and she actually at the end had decided not to remain with the colony, and her and her dad were going to kind of go back to Earth, and then maybe thinking about enrolling in Starfleet later. So maybe in a later John Vornholt book he brings this character back. Who knows? Looking at my shelf, there are quite a few more books by John Vornholt, and I know this wasn't the first one that I had read as well. I think there were a couple more. Contamination, which was an excellent book. So, yeah, John Vornholt, an excellent Trek writer, and knows how to tell a great Trek story. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We're going to continue right along with TNG. So, hey, we've got another Worf. Well, covers can be deceiving. I'm not going to read the back, but we might have a Worf Counselor Troy story going on here next. So, that's where we're going to go next. I think what I will do is probably read 24 Nightshade, 25 Grounded, and then once we hit 25, maybe we'll switch it up and read a little something else. So I do know coming up here this December, I definitely want to get a read in of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, hopefully if I can squeeze it in. I haven't done that in a while, so... all right, everybody, we are going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening to me rant about War Drums by John Vornholt. A very, very excellent Trek story, and a very great Worf story if you're looking for that. As always, live long and prosper, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.